What is up, fans of Sports Hour? Welcome back to Hendricks Hall for another wonderful episode and my sweet new hairstyle of Sports Hour. I'm your host, Trevor Hauer. We have Jenna Pulido here to talk some NHL hockey, more specifically the Sabres, the boys with the swords. How's it going?
It could be better, especially after losing to the Canadians yesterday. So it started off doing pretty good. So we pulled up Lucas Rusek from the Amerks, and he got 2 points in his first NHL game and NHL shift. I mean, that was literally like 3 minutes on into the ice. So we were doing pretty good, up, I think, 3-0, and then they started gaining points. And it eventually just led to a really intense and long shootout with 6 different players from each team scoring, and Montreal ended up getting the last shot. So.
And it was a fourth liner that scored this game-winning shootout goal, saluting the fans a little bit. I was like, come on, dude. But 16,000 fans at the KeyBank Center last night. I think probably 5,000 of them at least in the bowl section were Montreal fans. But yeah, Lucas Rusek, I mean, who would have thought in his first start, his first shift, his first shot on goal would be a goal. A great setup. I don't know if it was even intentional or not, but Tyson Jost with an amazing setup, shot redirected behind the net to a wide open Rusek, who just put it in the wide open net. Absolute beast of a human player, or of a human being. I think he's going to be a great NHL player in the future. And he got sent back down today again.
Sadly.
But good news for us, that means that Tage Thompson is definitely coming back from injury. I think he was day-to-day with an arm or upper body injury or something like that. He got elbowed by a Devils player, and then he played through the Islanders game and then was out for the Canadiens game. But they've won 2 in a row. They're on a 3-game point streak at least, which is good. They recently beat the Devils 5-4 on Friday, which was very, very impressive. And then they shut out the Islanders 2-0 on Saturday on the road. They still got a point, but when you got about 10 games left like the Sabres do have right now, you can't afford to lose in the shootout. You want to get that extra point every single time. But if you are looking at the standings, we're still 5 points behind Pittsburgh with 10 games to go, or actually 9 games to go. 5 points out, and Pittsburgh on top of that is right now losing as we speak. So we need that. And I mean, this thing, I think the Sabres just need to string along some wins, maybe 2 or 3 in a row, because let's say Pittsburgh goes 500 the rest of the way. The Sabres would probably have to get 13 points in their last 9 games to have a shot. So they have to string along maybe 3 or 4 wins in a row, or maybe go 7-2-0 or 7-1-1 the rest of the way to have a legitimate shot at the playoffs, because if they go right around 500, Pittsburgh, the Sabres would need at least 90 to 91 points to go to the playoffs. It's still possible. You look at the teams that they're facing right now. Friday night's game is going to be a challenge, though. You got the Rangers at home, at least, and it's possibly Devin Levi's first start. We don't know.
Hopefully.
The Philadelphia Flyers, we have another back-to-back. This time it's on the road. The Panthers, we played them again. And good news from last night, the Panthers did lose, so that was good. They lost to the Senators, so we're tied with Ottawa, but they have a game in hand over us. Might be a little hard to follow, but we're talking about a playoff push in the end of March for the Sabres. No matter how you slice the season, we completely kind of bashed them last week, but if you really look at the whole picture and you look at the whole season, we're talking about the Sabres possibly making a push in late March. They can use whatever they built this year, and maybe we can think about a team that can make a deep playoff push next year.
Honestly, this is just such a young team, and all of the guys that we have on it, Don Granato is really doing a great job teaching them what to do and just how to be that playoff team. And, I mean, this is years, really, that we haven't seen any playoff picture at all. So it just gives us a little bit of hope, and even if we don't make the playoffs, I think this team is going to be angry, and they're going to want to do something about it and continue to improve.
And you got to think about rebuilding the bottom 6 too. I don't think Oposo's coming back. He's probably going to retire after this season. Gergensons, I like to have him back, but he's an unrestricted free agent as well. I really like our third line. I like the kids line. They're going to be even better next year.
Yes.
But you're talking about players in Rochester that are going to grow, like Isaac Rosen, who's probably going to come up next year. Paterka, this is his first season playing full-time. He's only going to get better. Jack Quinn's only going to get better. We saw a lot of what he could bring in the next few years. And just a lot of those players. Goaltending, I think, is the number one thing that we need to look at in this offseason. Even if it's potentially, I've heard the rumor of trading UPL, which might be a topic of conversation by the time the end of the season comes around, because, I mean, he's below a 900 save percentage. We don't know what type of value he has, but you'd hope that Devin Levi can come up full-time next year. And then maybe look at a guy like Thatcher Demko, who's still a free agent. They can still go out and grab a guy like him to fill in that spot. Craig Anderson's probably going to retire,
Probably.
so you got to take that into account as well. Eric Comrie will be an unrestricted free agent, so you got to look at that as well. If we just had a very similar home record from what we do with our road record, we'd be in the playoffs. We are the road warriors this year, but for some reason, especially in those Royal Blues, we're on a 9-game losing streak in those Royal Blue jerseys. If we had half the success in those Royal Blue jerseys, we'd be talking about a playoff spot right now. And those games that have loomed large on us is the 10-4 loss against Dallas, winnable game, the blown 4-2 lead against Washington on March 15th. That's hanging over our heads a lot. And there was another one, too, that they lost. The 3-2 loss to the Oilers and the 3-2 loss to the Islanders. If 2 of those games go to overtime, we're 3 points behind the Penguins. If we win 2 of those games, we're 1 point behind the Penguins. Like, that's why we say meaningful games in March. And even the Columbus game, again, they really should have had on February 28th, which was a couple weeks ago. Like, that was the game that they had to win. They win that game, we're in striking distance of Pittsburgh. But Pittsburgh, we don't know about them. They're becoming an older team. They might kind of limp into the playoffs, maybe give the Sabres a little bit of a sprint towards the end of the year. No matter what, if the Sabres stay in these games like they have been over the last 3 games for the rest of the season, no matter if they make the playoffs or not, it's going to be a fun finish.
True. I think I was watching like an interview or something that a player was doing. I think it might have been Okposo. And he was talking about how their mindset really has had to shift from thinking long distance to game,
Mm-hmm.
and that is probably one of the main reasons why things are looking up for us after that losing streak we had, because we are taking it one day at a time, one game at a time. If we keep looking at the big picture, and if we are going to make the playoffs or not, it's going to cloud our judgment, and we're not going to play the best that we can. And I think I've really seen the difference in that.
And 77 points right now. We still got 9 games to go. It is possible. It's very slim, but it is possible. You don't really like the last 10 records. They're 3-4-3 in their last 10. But look at the teams ahead of you. The Panthers are riding a 4-game losing streak. The Tampa Bay Lightning are riding a 4-game losing streak. Boston, nobody's catching them. They already clinched the division in like early February. They're gone. They have 119 points to Toronto, who's in second with 97. And then you go to the Metro. I mean, you have teams like New Jersey and New York, Carolina that have already clinched. But the Islanders have 85. The Penguins have 82. And the Penguins are 4-5-1 in their last 10 games. If they take what Kyle Oposo's saying and take it game by game, instead of looking at the bigger picture, like I think going into this month, they're thinking, all right, meaningful games in March. Let's just look at the whole month, circle the teams that we want, and try to play our best hockey. That ended up just not working. And of course, the time where we do get into a playoff spot, that's when Alex Tuch goes down with an injury, and that's when Rasmus Dahlin goes down with an injury. But no matter how you look at it, this is our best season in terms of points since Jack Eichel's rookie season. In 2015 and 2016, we had 82 points that year. We still got 9 games to go. We can catch 82. We can get above 82 points. It's just about beating these tough teams. I mean, the Rangers really don't have a lot to play for. I don't think they're 7 points out of the division lead. They still have a shot at the top of the Metro, but I think that's a race between the Carolina and New Jersey. So they don't really have much to play for. So maybe the Sabres can jump on that opportunity and take down the Rangers. I know they have meaningful games against Ottawa coming up in early April, and they have the Panthers coming up. Those are games that they absolutely need to jump on and win those. The Flyers, that should be a winnable game, but we lost 5-2 last time we played in Philly. It's going to be weird knowing that the season's already over, but it's going to be a fun finish. And no matter what the Sabres do this year, this is something that they can improve on for next year and the years to come. You'd think, you'd hope at least.
We would hope.
But it's looking good, but you got these tough games. Carolina to start off, April at home, that's going to be very, very tough. I think they know what's in front of them. They know that the playoffs are still there, so they're going to keep trying. And it's just about winning these shootouts. I mean, and winning in extra time. They've been decent in overtime, but when they go to the shootout,
we are currently 1-3 on the shootout.
It's not good, and especially going in against Jake Allen, who had an .894 save percentage, 1 guy out of 6 scoring, and that was Jack Quinn. I don't even know if that move was intentional or not that he did, but it looked really good in the shootout. But my question last night was, where was Skinner? I know his shootout numbers aren't very, very good, but where was he in the shootout? And where was Rasmus Dahlin? We know that guy can shoot and score in the shootout. Alex Tuck looked like he just walked in and shot right at the goalie just for fun. It looked like warm-ups. Yeah. But we got to get better at the shootout. I know we can't beat the refs. Apparently they called a one-hand cross-check last night, so we killed off a penalty late in overtime. One of the worst calls I've ever seen, but
that was we did do a great job on that penalty kill, though.
And you see what happens when the Sabres do well in overtime. They get the fans' reaction, and then all of a sudden it's over, and we got to end the game on a skills competition. Mm-hmm. I still think it should be continuous 5 or 3-on-3 overtime until somebody scores.
Yeah.
That makes the game so much more fun, and it's not like it's going to go on forever. So they still have a shot. They're still alive. They still got, I think they're on life support right now. Maybe it's time to fire up that AED, get the Sabres, kickstart their heart, and we can go to the playoffs. We'd hope. We'd only hope. But it is something to build on for next year.
True.
So, Jenna, thanks for coming on.
No
problem. In approximately 2 minutes, we'll have Ethan to talk some March Madness NCAA basketball.
To Sofia and Gabriel, mis flores, my little flowers. Even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love, so you can take me with you wherever you go, near or far. These stitches and threads join us together. Me, your mother, and both of you. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you as you bring our colorful stories to the world.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
There was an old woman who lived in a shoe. She had so many children, she didn't know what to do. She gave them some broth without any bread and kissed them all soundly.
Lights out.
Good night. And put them to bed. Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org.
Most of my family, they never graduated high school or even let alone go to college, so I'm trying to break that barrier. Every day after work, went straight to school, studied hard, and it paid off. I could not have done it alone. I see the future is really bright for me. The high school diploma is just added to the confidence, and now I feel unstoppable.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Happy to have the B-ball wizard, Ethan Smith. What's going on, man? Talk some NCAA March Madness
Yeah, we're
hoops.
changing it up on you today.
Yeah, I think this is the first time we talked about this on the show so far.
Yeah,
but
all year.
What's the special holiday we got today? Other than Trev's hair looks absolutely fuego.
You're not the only one rocking some new dreads this evening. The special holidays we have for today are Thing on a Stick Day, rather that be a kebab, a corn dog, a shrimp on a barbie if you're Australian.
Yep.
or a respect your cat day. So
or popsicle.
So maybe feed your cat a popsicle today to
A
kill
creamsicle,
two
maybe.
holidays in one.
And it's also Hot Tub Day, too. Do you know that?
Is it actually?
I learned that, well, maybe like 5 minutes ago, but it also came up in today's announcements at Maryvale Intermediate School today. So big shout out to my placement school.
Grand Island.
In Cheek to Vegas.
Right
next to the Buffalo Niagara International Airport. All right, awesome. So, March Madness. My bracket was literally shot in the first game.
My bracket was blown day one, as I think 95% of America's was, and then the rest of them were blown the next day.
I just want to thank Virginia for doing that to me.
Yeah,
That's
thank
awesome.
you, Virginia.
Good job, guys.
UVA is the chronic chokers in March Madness. They won it in 2018 and has not had a successful run ever since then. They are the first #1 seed to lose to a 16th seed ever in the history of the tournament, although they are no longer the only #1 seed to lose to a 16th seed, as Purdue, was it Purdue or was it Iowa? Iowa lost to FDU, a college university with a gym smaller than Dodds Hall. FDU would then go on.
Maybe it was Purdue, because Iowa lost to Auburn. Oh,
yeah,
I picked Iowa to go to the Sweet 16, guys. I picked Arizona to go to the Final Four. I picked Virginia to go to the Final Four. You could tell how happy I was about March Madness beginning.
Well, unfortunately,
I got confused with one of my losing teams. Sorry.
Yeah, unfortunately or fortunately, if you are a fan of underdog stories, this is the first March Madness tournament in the history of the tournament to have no #1 seeds in the Sweet 16, or the Elite 8. I think it was the Elite 8.
Yep, the Elite 8.
The Elite 8. First time ever in the entire history of the tournament to have no Sweet 16 team, no #1 seeds in the Elite 8. Sorry, I got to do my words there. Your final 4 teams are San Diego State takes on Florida Atlantic. That happens this Saturday at 6:09 p.m. So make sure to turn in there to watch some blue collar schools go at it. And UConn versus Miami. Personally, I got UConn taking it the rest of the way. They looked dominant over Gonzaga in their win in the Elite 8. They beat them by 29 points. I personally thought that would be a much more entertaining game than it was, but it was a straight up beat down by the Huskies.
Right.
They discombobulated the Gonzaga offense and annihilated them on the defensive end. They couldn't get a bucket off. They couldn't get a shot off.
I mean, after that game, they just had to gulp, drink some water.
I know.
To be honest, with all the other wiggly gremlins on that team.
Just ridiculous.
To be honest.
But
San Diego State and FAU, I mean, what a story. No matter what happens to these two teams, they can legitimately look at themselves in the mirror and say, we made it to the Final Four at the 8 and 9 seed.
And that's something you really can't get done in any other professional sports bracket. There's never going to be a time where a school that's smaller than, every single, smaller than, I feel like if you combine the size of Florida Atlantic, Connecticut, and San Diego State, it would be smaller than the campus of Miami. Yeah. I think Miami right now is probably the biggest dogs in the fight. They just had an incredible comeback over Texas. I thought, seeing the first half of that game, Texas was going to run away with it, but Miami just stayed in there, and eventually found their opening. Florida Atlantic, K-State was a game for the ages. It came down to the very last second. And something about March Madness that you have to take into account is the NBA. We talked about this last week. Mm-hmm. NBA has a problem right now about their sort of effort. They're not out there struggling to win every game, but
especially within the last 5 minutes of the game.
Right, but in March Madness, there is effort. Everyone and their mom is trying to win this, and the only reason that is because they are not getting paid for it. 99.9% of collegiate athletes are not getting NIL deals. They're not out there getting sponsorships. They're not going to the league. They just want them to have pride for their college and pride for their victories, and that is what makes March Madness so special, and that's what allows teams like Virginia to take one game off. You take one half off. FDU, they fight for every minute, and I think this Final Four, they're all teams that fight for every minute on the court. San Diego State is known more for their defense than they are for their offense. They had the lowest scoring final Elite 8 game. They finished 57-56 over Creighton. That was a very fun game to watch. But San Diego State plays very gritty defense. They're not going to go out there and drop 80 a game. They're not going to go out there and score and outscore you, but they will make you work for every single basket you get, and that's something that I admire a lot from a team, especially at the collegiate level.
And are we surprised that Gonzaga, put up that effort in the second half? I mean, this is the Gonzaga team that is consistently in everybody's Final Four brackets. Could we be looking at possibly the end of would you consider a team like Gonzaga a possible dynasty? At least back then they were. Or at least a favorite to win the March Madness tournament. But UConn coming in out of nowhere this year, I think I definitely agree with what you said. I think UConn has a legitimate shot, but I mean, you look at these seeds and throw the numbers out the window. Because these teams, they've proven that the numbers do not matter whatsoever as far as seeding goes. San Diego State at 5, FAU at 9, Miami at 5, UConn at 4. We don't have one team from the top 3 in the Final Four.
Which
we don't have a number 1 in the Final
crazy.
Four, but we don't have the top 3, which is insane to think about, too.
It's definitely been a march to remember. I do think that it's maybe not the end of a dynasty, but the end of an era in college basketball. You know, your big dogs aren't really in the fight anymore. Duke, UNC, Kentucky, Gonzaga,
Ohio
State, Xavier, all of these schools, Virginia, had either disappointing tournaments or just weren't there at all.
Yeah. Disappointing seasons.
Right. And so it's Coach Krzyzewski retired, Coach K, who was a longtime coach of Duke. Gonzaga had turnover in their program. They're losing Drew Timme, their longtime forward starter. Just lots of, and speaking of disappointing tournaments, just to kind of segue, we got to talk about Brandon Williams.
Yeah.
Alabama. He had one of the worst tournaments.
They were the favorites by far.
They were the favorites, and and Brandon Williams individually had one of the worst tournaments in the history of the tournament. Out of, I think he had the worst shooting percentage out of people that attempted 15 or more field goal attempts. He shot, I think it was 20%, or
I think it was sub 20.
yeah, I think it was like
18,
like 18 or
Yeah.
19% from the field, which is just abysmal.
That's
now I
his
get
ultimate
it.
choke job.
He's more of a shot creator for his teammates. You know, he sets people up for the hit and run kind of plays.
Yeah, but when you gotta be clutch, man, you gotta be clutch.
But he just didn't have that kind of energy. I mean, people were telling me he would go over Scoot Henderson. People were telling me this guy was a top 3 pick. He looked like a top 20 pick. I wouldn't even like this guy going in the lottery after that kind of performance in the tournament. It was just and it's just, I don't know what happened to him. It just completely fell flat in the tournament.
And not only doesn't it shoot the confidence for your team, but that just shows you what your performance in the clutch is. And scouts are watching that.
Yeah.
NBA scouts are watching that. They're like, ooh, I don't know, maybe I could pass on him and look at this next kid behind him.
And you could have the greatest season in the history of college, but if you don't get it done in March, if you don't get it done when the lights are brightest and when you're fighting for your life in the tournament, it does a lot more. It's better to have an okay season and an amazing March than an amazing season and an okay March. And that is just the long and short of it in terms of not NFL, NBA draft potentiality.
It's like, would it be fun to go first seed, maybe the first in the East, first in the West in the NBA? Sure. But if your first round exits, it's all for nothing. It's like you had that recognition of going into first place, second place, and being that favorite, and then you start to get in your own head, and then you lose in the first round. Well, then what happens? You got to point your finger at somebody. He was definitely the person to at least put some of the blame on.
He needed to be the guy.
He couldn't hit water if he fell out of boat.
Yeah, he couldn't find he couldn't find the haystack for the needle.
Yep.
He couldn't see the forest for the trees out there. Just he couldn't hit a broadside of a barn.
He couldn't find the wiggly gremlins.
He couldn't even
in the Wiggly Safari. He couldn't find them.
He couldn't find the wiggly.
He couldn't find the crunchy munchy honey cakes.
And at that point, you just gotta gulp, drink some water, and go back out for the next game. But then when it comes to March, there is no next game.
Will it be Wallaby, Alabama? An elephant sat on Alabama.
Unreal. So yeah, that was just disappointing from my point of view. And there's a lot of criticism levied at the tournament this year, as people are like, it'll be the least viewed Final Four of all time. I don't know.
No, it won't.
I don't know what the audience, the general audience, is looking for. But to me, this is like one of the best. Like, I would prefer it if the tournament was 4 16 seeds in the Final Four.
Oh yeah.
Because at least then I know I'm gonna get a dog fight. At least then I know I'm gonna see some interesting basketball. If it's a 1 seed versus a 9 seed in the Final Four and they get blown up by 40, no one likes seeing that.
Or if it was like a 7 seed versus a 16th versus a 15th versus a 12th.
Right.
I would love to see something like that.
Something crazy. I just want to see more underdogs, more upsets. That's the beauty of March, is buzzer beaters and bracket busters and half-court heaves to win the tournament. That's what you like to see. And you know, when you have a bunch of favorites, a bunch of basically pro programs, like a 1-year rental, you know, it's not that interesting. You know, you kind of lose faith after seeing a 20-point blowout in the first half, and there goes the Final Four, there goes Gonzaga on the way to the finals.
And that whole super team aspect is gone.
Right.
Throw that out the window now.
Yeah, it's because now you see Florida Atlantic, San Diego State, Connecticut, Miami, Florida. No one had these guys in the Final Four. I didn't see UConn making the run. I definitely didn't have FAU making the run.
No, absolutely not. I didn't have Texas blowing it to Miami, Florida. Didn't have that happening.
Neither. I mean, but the Canes, that is discombobulated the Texas offense, and they found their way.
They did. The U found their way against the Horns.
The Horns. And
That
now
happens
it's the
sometimes.
U versus the Husky.
Versus the Husky. So who wins in a fight? A Husky or a Hurricane?
Depends on the size of the fight and the dog.
That's right. Well, it's
The dog
not the
and the
size
fight.
of the dog in the fight,
It's
right?
the size of the fight and the dog.
It's the size of the fight and the
What
dog.
even is San Diego State?
San Diego State, aren't they like the
San Diego State Spartans?
Spartans.
The Spartans. I believe they're
Florida
Spartans.
Atlantic?
Owls.
The Owls.
The Florida Atlantic Owls.
Who would win in a fight?
An
owl or a Spartan?
Well, how can an owl?
I was gonna say,
find
how
himself?
big's the owl though?
How big is the owl?
Well,
And
Napoleon
is it just-
Dynamite asked about the talons. Do the chickens have large talons? Do the owls have large talons?
And does the Spartan have a spear, or is it just a Spartan?
yeah, they
like
didn't
a
say
Spartan
anything. They
wa-
didn't say anything about a spear.
A Spartan by himself, he's getting smacked
But
by
also,
an owl with large talons.
Going back to the Miami UConn, how strong is this Hurricane? Are we talking a Cat 4 here, or like a Cat 2? And
Or
the
is it,
Huskies like
or
run
more
right through
tropical
it.
storm?
Yeah,
tropical
are
storm
we getting more
territory?
into like
We're thinking like drizzle
heavy
or like
winds?
storm surge?
or heavy wind gusts?
80, 90 mile an hour? Is it like a wacky wiggly safari?
It might be a wiggly safari out there, but I don't know. They might spawn some wiggly gremlins if we keep talking about stuff like this.
I think the control room is losing their minds right
And
now.
if anyone has
Talking-
a perfect bracket right now,
cash in.
please
Yeah.
submit your request to come on Sports Hour because
If
I'd
you
love
have,
to talk
if
to
you
you.
have a perfect bracket right now, what are tomorrow's lottery's numbers?
Yeah. What's the weather going to be like tomorrow or next week? Or the
Will it
week
be a
after?
Cat 4 hurricane?
Will it just
with
be,
Huskies
or
running
will it just
through
be
it?
a Husky that just runs right through it?
Or will it be an owl versus a Spartan? We really got to get off this metaphor.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
This is getting ridiculous now. But believe it or not, that's how some people fill out their brackets, though. Like, who would win in a fight, a
yeah.
Musketeer or a Buckeye?
And I feel like what even is a Buckeye at
Yeah.
that point?
But a Musketeer would win.
Oh, I think.
You ever watch Ohio State Xavier from like 07?
10
That was one of
times
the
out of
best games
10.
of all time. That was one of the best games in March Madness history, and
You know,
Gus
didn't
Johnson
that-
was going insane.
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna predict. I'm not even gonna.
I am gonna predict because that's
But
my.
I hope UConn wins.
That's my job. I'm taking UConn over Miami, and I'm taking San Diego State. I'm taking San Diego State in the final by 2 on a last-second fadeaway jump shot.
All right. Last-second fadeaway jump inside the
Book
paint
it.
or outside?
Inside the paint.
All right.
So it's gonna be like top of the key dribble, screens, rolls, kicks, blocked, rebounded by the guy who initiated the pick and roll, fadeaway jumper, buzzers.
But if that happens,
San
you gotta
Diego
tell me the
State.
lottery numbers next week.
San Diego State gets torn down. You know what's going to happen now? Miami's going to beat UConn. Florida Atlantic's going to beat San Diego State. Miami's going to win by 40.
But would any of these count? Because it is April Fool's Day. So
That is true.
if UConn wins, they're going to say just kidding, and they flip the score and it's Miami?
I don't know. I feel like that's something that's got to be decided before the game, not after. Because like what? Then it's going to be like who can lose better. It'll be like Houston versus San Antonio. It'll be who's a better tank job. It'll be like Montreal versus
the
the
Sabres.
Buffalo Sabres in the shootout.
I wouldn't say, well,
We had John Jason Paterka looking at the second line of the shootout. What's going on there?
or Casey Middlesuck's missing the net. How's that?
Middlesex didn't even give himself a chance.
Yep, he needs to go on beginner mode on NHL and get the little shot director thing
Middlestat
going.
needs to get down to AHL on the Amerks.
No, he needs to go to the.
a big
He needs to go to D3. He needs to go to D3 hockey.
He needs to go down to
or
Michigan.
go back to Pee Wee.
He needs to go. He needs to go play where Devin Levi just played in Nebraska.
Oh boy.
Get some collegiate training.
Or he can go play in Antarctica. I don't really care. But it should be good this Saturday, 6:09 and
Saturday.
8:49.
And we'll cover it all.
Watch it. We'll
cover the
it
results.
all next week.
What happens next? NBA draft look up next week.
And you're not going anywhere.
I'm
by
sitting
the
right
way.
here.
He's staying right here.
The Kebab Day celebration.
The Willoughby Wallaby Gremlin Fest will continue when we talk about MLB baseball. Because guess what? Opening day
Thursday.
is 2 days away.
days away. Mark your
When we
calendars.
return, baseball's back.
When you think of the local lowdown, what do you think of?
Well, when I think of the local lowdown, it's the live music that we have played in the studio.
It's got to be the laughs we shared. The memorable moments during the whole thing. Oh my God, so fun.
The local lowdown for me is the people behind the scenes, the amazing team that we have making the show.
Oh, it's gotta be exploring all sorts of genres and music I've never heard before.
Oh, easy. Going out to shows and talking to artists and getting the latest news on what they have planned for the future.
It's about these artists, man. giving them a platform to showcase what they've worked so hard on and show their music to the community. It's all about supporting the local scene of music to keep it running for years to come. And of course, the band merch. You can't forget about the merch.
Isn't Bing?
We are here to talk some MLB baseball.
Welcome to opening day in 2 days.
Opening day in 2023. We saw a lot of spring training that's finally over, but we got our matchups right here, courtesy of azcentral.com. MLB baseball is back. I guess we'll drink to that, I guess.
I guess we'll drink to that.
I won't tell you what we're drinking. We're probably just drinking some water to that.
We're just gulp, gulp.
Gulp, gulp.
Drinking some water.
And guess what? We have all the matchups right here. And I guess we could recap spring training. There really was, a lot of the minor leaguers getting their feet
Anthony
wet.
Volpe got exciting in New York, got hot. He's gonna start. Brent's gonna start opening day, which is they're fast tracking him to the MLB, which I think is smart.
It's about time they called
Isaiah
him
Kiner Falefa's, he's never gonna be the guy.
Inconsistent Kiner Falefa, I think you mean IKF.
Inconsistent IKF.
Yeah.
Yusei Kikuchi's bouncing back for the Blue Jays. You love to see it.
The Blue Jays hype train is huge, especially coming out of spring training.
Once again, it is March time. We are in April. The Toronto Blue Jays are the best team in baseball. This time
it's
in
the Blue Jays
August,
believer season.
The Blue Jays will be horrible. We'll be third in the AL East. We're going to lose in the wild card off of a walk-off by Seattle Mariners. I still haven't recovered from that. Speaking of former Blue Jays,
I haven't either.
Robbie Ray, the former Blue Jays Cy Young winner. He's looking hot again. The southpaw is slinging it for Seattle. He's, I think he matched like a .808 ERA.
Yeah, he had some control issues last year, but I think he was injured.
I think it's because he lost that slider.
Yeah.
That slider is his put-away pitch. It's his go-to. He gets a lot of swing and misses on that pitch.
Yeah, he's trying to throw off speed away, and they would just hang right over the plate
and
get crushed.
They would just get crushed to deep right. But that multi-year extension, it was very lucrative. It was a pretty big extension. The Blue Jays didn't want to pay it, which makes sense because it was a pretty big contract, and Robbie Ray isn't a very young pitcher. But, at least in spring, everyone looks amazing in spring. So, with a grain of salt.
But at the same time, Toronto's farm system, a.k.a. the Buffalo Bisons, are going to be absolutely stacked
They're
this year.
going to be monsters.
Toronto, on MLB Power Rankings for their farm system, was ranked second in farm system for AAA. So look out. If you're in the Buffalo area, the Bisons are going to be absolutely electric
and you
this
can,
season.
the tickets are usually cheap. It's like $20 a game.
Yeah, they are.
Max. That's like 100 section. And you can just go out there and just hang out and watch some good baseball because we're going to be winning by 13 runs a game.
The future of the Blue Jays
a lot of these players, and especially in Buffalo, are MLB ready and just can't buy a spot on the 23-man roster.
And then if they go to the playoffs, a lot of those Bisons players, their season's done in September. They'll be on the 40-man going into the postseason.
September call-ups.
Yep.
Always good to see.
They made a little deal with, last thing about the Blue Jays, but they made a little deal with the Arizona Diamondbacks. They got themselves Dalton Varsho, new catcher.
That finally got a lefty.
They got rid of Lourdes Gurriel, who was kind of
inconsistent
last year, but
lots of power, lots of not a very high OPS, not a very high OBP, but they needed lefty bats last season.
But unfortunately, they did lose a big piece of their prospect pool, which was Gabriel Moreno. He was great.
He was a good prospect, but also you look at the catchers in Toronto, and where's Moreno going to get in the next?
No, he's not. He wouldn't get any reps
Alejandro
anyway.
Kirk is arguably the best hitting center in the league.
Yeah.
On any given weekday.
But now you have Dalton Varsho with him too.
Dalton Varsho is there,
Danny
as well
Jansen.
as Danny Jansen, who can hit bombs.
Goggles.
Danny Jansen,
Yep.
Mr. Goggles can hit nukes, and Kirk isn't the best behind the dish in terms of fielding, but you can't give up that kind of power at the center position.
He's got the power behind the swing.
I mean, that guy hits bombs. Speaking of hitting bombs, we're going to head to the first of the couple of the
opening day matchups.
Opening day, the two earliest games are going to be the Atlanta Braves at Washington Nationals. That game is going to be a blowout. I'm assuming it's going to be what's his name? Dealt in the Juan Soto deal.
Oh, yeah.
Mackenzie Gore
yes.
towing the slab for the Natties. I'm assuming that he's their ace. I don't know who else would be in Washington. Zimmerman's bad.
Strasburg? Steven Strasburg?
If Strasburg is the Natties' ace this year,
They got some
It's going to
serious
be a long
problems.
season in Washington.
Hotlanta, they're starting Max Fried, no doubt about it.
Max Fried is starting for Hotlanta, and it's going to be a massacre.
I would say
Matt Olson, Freddie Freeman.
Freddie Freeman's in LA.
LA now.
But
sorry.
the Dodgers and the Braves are still like this much as far as talent goes. And everyone thought the Dodgers were going to surpass the level of talent the Braves have, but the Braves are kind of hanging in there with them.
Acuna, Albies.
Ronald Acuna's he's going to be great. He'd probably be one of the top center fielders this year.
If Acuna hits less than 40 homers this year, I'd be surprised, and he's going to start strong against the Natties. Heading to the other side of the country, New York, San Francisco visits the Yankees at home.
This was almost the matchup of Aaron Judge. Remember, we all thought that Aaron Judge was going to the Giants.
San Francisco Giants.
And then John Heyman said, "Oh, sorry, my sources were wrong."
And then
he
John
had to take it back.
Heyman walked back his statement, and the New York Yankees continued to use their infinite pool of money to sign players. Aaron Judge comes back, and I think it was an 8-year contract.
Yeah, 8-year. They broke the bank for him.
8-year, $400 million.
And
am I close?
Yeah, $400 million. And they locked him up on the no trade thing too. Yeah. So he's there forever.
So Judge is going to retire a Yankee, and that makes sense. The guy was a monster last season. Probably
62 home runs.
62 home runs. Broke the record, right? Broke the record?
Yeah. In the modern day, at least.
In the modern day record, some people didn't count the records that were set by Barry Bonds due to the juicing allegations, but we're not going to talk about Mark McGwire.
Sammy Sosa. Yeah. But I would say Garrett Cole is probably on the mound for them.
And Garrett Cole is one of those guys that, he's all right.
When he's off, he's off.
When he's off, it's ugly.
When he's on, it's hard to stop him.
He's hammering.
I would say the Yankees take this one.
When he's got the spider tack on the hat, when he's not getting checked in between
on his neck and his hair,
on his neck, on his back. The guy can deal, but when he doesn't got that 999,000 spin rate on his fastball,
SOL. Yep.
He's easier to hit.
Baltimore and Boston, so we got a little AL East rivalry here.
Anytime I see Baltimore, I'm only going to be watching for Adley Rutschman.
And Gunnar Henderson.
Rutschman had a monster spring training, continues to be a beast. Best prospect in baseball for the last 2 seasons. Gets his first look at full-time major league stuff this season.
Look at him to be AL Rookie of the Year candidate.
I could not imagine anybody else winning it. Rutschman is going to be a monster.
Maybe Gunnar Henderson. Maybe there could be a little team battle for AL Roy.
But anyways, Baltimore looks fun. I'm not expecting anything great from them. I'm not expecting any kind of deep postseason run, but I am going to expect to see some fun baseball.
Milwaukee and Chicago, the Cubs, the Brewers and the Cubs. So the Cubs, everyone was kind of counting them out. But then they go out and sign Cody Bellinger. They go out and get Trey Mancini.
You don't look at the massive, Trey Turner deals and be like, oh, look at this. We got
like what Philadelphia did.
Yeah. But we got Trey Mancini and Cody Bellinger. But those are solid players. And baseball, among other teams, it's a game of consistencies. Scherzer, Turner, and Judge got those massive deals because they're amazing players. But Trey Mancini was a 20-plus home run hitter last season.
Yep.
Bellinger, again, solid contact guy, good in the outfield. He's good at fielding things in general.
He's lost his ability of power as of late. I'm not really sure why that is, but he's been hitting for contact.
Yeah, he's been hitting for contact, finding gaps in the defense, breaking the shifts. And an interesting thing that we should talk about just quickly that I completely forgot about mentioning until now is all of these games we play with the pitch clock.
Yeah.
And the pitch clock has driven game times down roughly 30 to 45 minutes. There have been games decided by a pitch clock violation, which caused a lot of uproar. Or
a walk-off or a strikeout. Yep.
But it's clear that pitch clock is going to be something that they're enforcing heavily this season. And it's going to be interesting to see.
And 5 shifts per game.
Yeah,
they're limited to 5 shifts. Or no, they're getting rid of the shift completely.
Yeah, they're banning
They were thinking about, or MLB fans were talking about, we should only have 5, but the MLB banned it completely.
You cannot shift anymore in baseball.
Bigger plates now.
The plates are bigger.
That means the strike zone's going to get bigger, so get ready for some more.
Is it home plates bigger too? I thought it was just first, second, and third were bigger.
By diameter, just a little bit. But the first, second, and third are almost double its size.
Yeah, double its size. And I think it's a safety thing to make sliding easier.
It's also going to make stealing a lot more fun to watch too.
Yeah, because bigger plates, easier stealing radiuses. But yeah, just bear those in mind. If you're ever the game is going to go on.
Why is there a clock here? Yeah.
Why is there a clock I'm seeing? Why did my team just get called for a ball or a strike? That is why 99.8% of the time.
We can go into some other big games here, too. Colorado and San Diego. San Diego's going to be that sneaky team in the National League that
San Diego sneaky
is one of
Machado, Tatis, Soto.
Well,
top
if
3.
If Tatis can
stay off the Barry Bonds
shooty.
juice.
Yeah.
Save off the Mark McGuire.
Save off the Sammy juice and
Stays
the
off
Alex
the,
Rodriguez stuff.
Keep off
We'll see.
the gulp.
Drink some water.
Drink some
shoot some steroids.
Shoot some steroids.
Yep. Gulp,
Tatis.
gulp. Shoot some steroids.
There it is.
There you go.
Gym candy for Tatis.
Gym candy.
It was just an ointment.
Yep.
Just an ointment.
Yeah, it was just an ointment
It was for
to
his
prevent something.
And I thought it was like to prevent like.
I'll find it later and laugh so hard at it, but it was something so funny.
If you're at home, if you're on your phone, Google that up.
You know what I'm
real
talking
quick.
about, Tatis fans
you'll know
out
the
there.
Joke.
But yeah, they're one of my early picks to go
deep
in the
if
NL playoff.
If they don't win the NL West.
NL West, yeah.
I'd be surprised.
It's them, the Dodgers.
Anything lower than a top 2 finish in the NL West is a failure this season. I think when you have a high NL MVP candidate Machado, high NL MVP candidate in Tatis, if he can stay, on the field, high NL MVP candidate in Juan Soto, if he can regain some of that form he had in Washington, look for danger.
How about this one? The injury-stricken New York Mets taking on the Marlins from Miami.
Miami's a sneaky team this year, I think. Sandy Alcantara.
I'm just saying, don't sleep on the Marlins. Miami. Don't sleep on the Marlins this year.
Jazz Chisholm, is he in Miami?
Mm-hmm.
He's
on the cover of MLB The Show.
23, yeah. So Jazz Chisholm, obviously lots of hype.
Hopefully he doesn't get that game cover curse.
The show curse. Shohei was on the cover last year. And
he
one of the best players.
Didn't affect him at all.
He's the best player in baseball, in my opinion. There's no one better in the world at this moment in time at playing baseball than Shohei.
No one else would be more cursed on the MLB cover than Yasiel Puig in 2016, who had a great season that year and then just was traded to 5 different teams after and then just left the league. So hopefully good thing. I like Jazz Chisholm Jr. So hopefully he can stay away from that kind of curse. But the Mets are probably going to be without Edwin Diaz, their closer, the whole season.
Which is very sad.
Brandon Nimmo got injured in spring training, so we don't know if he's going to be starting. But they have Justin Verlander, who also is having a hard time with his velocity and control, apparently.
Yeah, Verlander had a rough spring training, that's for sure. But you have Jacob deGrom.
Yep.
Jacob deGrom is unhittable when he's on. When Jacob deGrom is feeling it on the mound, he's unhittable.
Oh, dude, I hate to tell you this right now, but Jacob deGrom is going to be the starter because he was dealt in a trade to the Texas Rangers.
Oh,
he's the start.
He's
starting against the Philadelphia Phillies this Thursday.
And that was my next point. Is the Rangers look scary this year?
Yeah.
They have deGrom.
At least that rotation. Their lineup can be. They really didn't adjust that lineup, but.
But you have Marcus Semien, and Semien looked good for the Blue Jays for a long. Garcia can hit bombs.
Seager.
Corey Seager. Is it Corey or Kyle that plays for
Kyle
Texas?
Retired. He was the Mariner for a long time. Yes, so you got Corey Seager.
So, there's potential there when those players are playing like they're supposed to.
It's about being consistent.
But again, that rotation can hold you down.
Oh, definitely.
That top 3 in the rotation, I think it's deGrom, and there's 2 others I can't think of right now.
Yeah. Well, deGrom's going to be your number 1
deGrom's your ace. deGrom's an ace for any team in the league right now.
He is your number 1
Besides
guy.
maybe Los Angeles.
How about the world champs taking on the Chicago White Sox? So Jose Abreu, the new acquisition from the Stros, is facing against his former boys in Chicago at Minute Maid Park.
That's going to be a blowout.
I think it's going to be close.
Really?
Because
I don't think Chicago's got the sauce
anymore. You have Framber Valdez starting for Houston, and it's still undecided for Chicago.
Right.
But I think they might run with Lance Lynn. I'm not sure.
Lance Lynn had a pretty good WBC. He played there, right?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he looked pretty solid in the WBC.
And Lance Lynn knows how to pitch around the Stros, so we'll see what happens with that.
So it could be a pitcher's duel there in Houston. The Angels took on the A's.
A little AL West rivalry
clash
matchup
to begin the season.
Yep.
A little California derby. I think this one's good. This has to be
possibly the last season in Oakland for the Athletics,
which is
before they might get moved to Las Vegas.
That money ball could be coming into play.
I want them to be moved to Montreal. At least bring back the Expos or something. Come on.
I miss the Spos. But this has to be the year for the Angels.
Yeah.
It has to be.
At least
Trout's not getting any younger.
They might not be favorites for the AL West, but at least get a wild card.
At least make the playoffs.
Yep.
You can't have the 2 best players in baseball on your team and not make the playoffs. I mean, you literally have the best pitcher and the best hitter in baseball in one player, and you missed the playoffs last season.
It's going to be interesting to see, too, because the AL West has the Astros, Mariners, the Rangers, Angels, well, and you have the Athletics. The Athletics are surefire going to be in the basement.
They just lost Sean Murphy. They're going to be a tank.
But you have the Rangers with that rotation that they brought in. You have the Angels coming back with a sour taste in their mouth from last year.
Yeah, with
and the Mariners coming back.
Right.
For the sour taste in their mouth
from
the playoffs
team
last
beat
year.
Anyone when
Yep.
I mean, the Mariners team, they got some fire behind them.
And then Houston, I still don't think it's a surefire thing that they win the division.
Right. Houston, obviously.
They're world champs. They might be a little hungover off that second World Series
title. They got
title.
some trash cans in the dugout.
Then they got some buzzers under their shirt.
Got some buzzers. But I don't know.
They got some beers in their World Series trophies, and yeah, they got the World Series grills and rings. Hopefully
that helps them.
Hopefully that doesn't go all to their head though. That's
right. And that's the scare. Framber Valdez. You know, there's lots of stuff going on about players winning a pennant and then not being the same player that was.
Kyle
afterwards.
Tucker still negotiating a contract for next year. We'll see what happens with that. But Jeremy Pena coming into year 2 after winning the World Series MVP as a rookie and the ALCS MVP as a rookie.
Pena's going to be scary.
I think that he's going to be that surefire shortstop that a lot of teams are going to look up to in that AL West. It used to be Carlos Correa. It's time to move over one. Move in number 3.
So it's going to be Pena, you say? Pena
Yep.
And the Yankees guy, Anthony Volpe.
Volpe.
Shortstops to watch opening day.
They're saying he might be in that running for top shortstops of the season too. So we'll see. But thanks for coming on for 30 minutes. That's half the shit.
30 minutes on Kebab Day.
On Kebab Day. You know
now
what?
I'm gonna go gulp, drink me some water.
As you should.
Because my throat is dry.
But you know what I gotta do? I gotta run a show for 12 more minutes. You believe that?
I wish you the best of luck.
And don't go away because the Bandits won in overtime this Saturday, and Brent's gonna come on to talk all about it when we return.
This one's for the real ballers and shot callers, the Sisterhood of Women in Tech. They're discovering cures, building apps, and programming the blockchain. They're CEOs, worldwide hustlers who can make it rain. They're tearing down the old boys club and seeing big gains. Because when women in tech come together, you know they make that change.
Every day.
Millions of people are connecting.
And even though we're overcoming obstacles,
watching each other's backs,
and banding together,
we should still make an effort.
We should still make an effort
to get to know each other
on a deeper level. Father,
cosplayer,
mentor,
actor.
It's time we take a step forward.
It's time we take a step forward.
Come together
and discover
how accepting our differences
can make us stronger.
How prepared is your family if a hurricane shows up at your doorstep, or a flood, or a blizzard? You can't just turn away a natural disaster. That's why it's important to go to ready.gov/plan now. It has the tools and tips you need to make an emergency plan with your family. So if disaster comes knocking,
let's go.
You'll be ready to help keep your family safe.
It's just a pizza.
Yes! Make a plan today.
Most of my family, they never graduated high school or even let alone go to college, so I'm trying to break that barrier. Every day after work, went straight to school, studied hard, and it paid off. I could not have done it alone. I see the future is really bright for me. The high school diploma is just added to the confidence, and now I feel unstoppable.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Well, how's it going? What's going on, Brent? The Buffalo Bandits are 11-3.
We beat the San Diego
Eagles. We beat those guys that go or all the time. Awesome. They have like the little beach ball spinning around their nose.
That was a big win for us, as they're #1 in the West.
#1 in the league.
League.
We're #1 in the league now.
Well, we are.
We are,
but they're #1 in the West.
Back where, they were I think they still are, aren't they?
Yeah,
yes,
they still are.
They still are because I think Calgary decided to. Oh, Calgary just not even close to them. All right, well, at least we have some competition in the Eastern Conference. But 7-6, very, very low scoring. Game that really just came out of the Chautauqua Institute, like attic or something in the archives. This was a game I've never really seen before. 13 combined goals, when the Bandits would sometimes score 18 goals by themselves. 13 combined goals in this game alone. And this dude right here,
If
Steve.
anyone's wondering who else we added to the picture this week, it's the one and only
Steve Coast to Coast Priolo.
Oh, I said it wrong. Priolo. I pronounced it wrong, but he's the one that got the overtime winner.
Looks like a caveman.
He really, dude.
Look at this dude.
That dude looks like he crawled out of the Chautauqua Institute attic. Are you kidding me?
Okay, now we gotta give them new names too.
Yeah, like last week we had Willoughby Wallaby Woo.
Yeah.
But now who's this? Now what's his name?
Gulp gulp, drink some water.
Yep, there it is.
There you go.
We need some
Because
water.
water's good for you. You think we should play the song?
I think we should.
I think we should sing over it at least, so we don't
I
get.
think
So we
people
don't
need
get.
to understand what the
Greg,
gulp gulp.
even if you're Greg, Murray, Anthony, Jeff, if you're watching, don't. I swear to Yusuf, Jessica, maybe. Don't even think about copyright striking this because I swear, I'll know. You'll know who did it. Okay. Gulp gulp, drink some water. Gulp gulp, drink some water. Gulp gulp, drink some at Blues.
Or if you're one of the best goal scorers in NHL hockey, Alex Ovechkin, on the bench, you drink some Pepsi. You know, everyone's got their taste and everyone's got their flavors, but for the Bandits, I think it's the water.
It's the water.
It's gotta be.
And the whiskey, probably.
And probably yeah.
Or the water that comes out of the Chautauqua Institute.
I don't know if anyone wants that
Well,
water.
that's the way that their offense has been playing lately because they scored 10 goals 3 weeks ago, then 10 goals after that, then 8 goals, then 7. My only question is, Brent, what is happening to this offense? Like, they used to consistently score 15 goals a night, 18 goals. They win this game 7-6 in overtime. Like, we don't want this team to be, at least the offense, to be limping into the playoffs.
That's the same score that happened the other night in the NHL.
In the NHL.
You don't really see that in lacrosse.
No, you don't.
So, honestly, I don't know. I mean, we're still first in the league. Well, now we're first in the league, so that's a great sign. When we go into playoffs, hopefully we got the easier, schedule layout. But
we got 4 more weeks of the regular season to turn it around, though.
Yep,
that's
and,
good.
I think within these next 4 weeks, I think Johnny T is gonna, figure out which guys should be together. Because honestly, I think that's might be what's happening right now.
Yeah.
We had some guys injured.
You got a bunch of the starters back.
Now we got
we're playing
a
worse.
bunch of the starters back. Yeah, not all of them, but we got a bunch of them back. And I think we're just trying to figure out, which guys should be playing together, which guys create the most offensive chances. And I mean, a 7-6 game against the #1 team in the West. We're
We'll
number
take
1
it.
in the East. I'll take that all
After
day.
being down 5-2, coming back and winning 7-6 in overtime is great. But Josh Byrne, 3 goals out of 7. I think he was the first star of the game. I would have given it to Matt Vince, the Bandits goalie who played the absolute game of his life. If I look at the stats here, they had 55 shots on goal, San Diego. The Bandits had 44, and he only let in 6 goals.
That's insane.
He should have been star #1, but they gave it to Josh Byrne. Dane Smith, 4 assists. Sounds about right, but he scored 1 goal in his last 3 games.
Yeah, like what's going on
He's
with that?
been cooling off.
I think what happened is he heard the Sports Hour segment when
He probably did. When
I
you
was
said,
talking.
"Hey Dane, you gotta go score a goal."
He's like, all right. I gotta do that? Oh yeah, Dane. Now you really do have to do that.
You do.
1 goal in the last
3 games.
3 games. What?
He didn't even score in the St. Patty's Day jerseys.
Yeah, and you lost.
Yeah.
So thanks for that. Yeah.
Thanks a lot for that. Yeah.
You went in and turned off the lights instead of turning them on.
And then I guess they went over to Steve Priolo and said, "Hey Steve, you got to go cause 2 turnovers and go coast to coast and win the overtime goal." And he's like, all right, say less and
He was
shoot
just
top
sitting
shelf.
on the water, gulping some on the bench, gulping some water. And
Gulp, drink some water.
Drink some water.
Because it's so good for you and Steve.
And Steve.
And Willoughby and Wallaby.
And Woo.
And Woo over there. But 7-6, and then they have, next week, they have probably the most important game of the season as they play the Toronto Rock. We are 1-2 in the standings with Toronto. Toronto, I think we're about a half a game ahead of them because they have a game in hand over us. They're 11-4, we're 11-3. So the winner of this game really takes control of first place. And Toronto beat Albany over the weekend. Thanks a lot, Firewolves. What kind of a name is that, by the way?
Yeah.
The Firewolves?
First of all, how do you come into Buffalo and you beat us, but then you lose at home?
And you only have like 3 wins on the season.
Yeah.
And then you lose to Toronto. But the good thing is Toronto's defense has really been struggling a lot the last 3 weeks. Our offense has been struggling a lot the last 3 weeks. Maybe that's the team we need to get that spark back.
Maybe it is. It
Dane
might
Smith
be.
scoring goals. Kylie Buchanan, Josh Burns been finding the back of the net. And hopefully we can get Chase Frazier hurt in warm-ups.
Yeah.
He was hurt in warm-ups.
Yeah.
You believe that?
From Fredonia, I heard that #1 girl crazy fan. From the arena, she was in the arena, I was here, and I heard her screaming.
And my mic just
Your
fell.
mic fell.
My mic fell, and guess what? I'm not going to pick it up.
Because you're a Mr. Wallaby.
Yeah, and woo. And I'm going to gulp, drink some water later. Just because you said that.
Maybe some Chihulies.
Maybe some Wallaby, Wiggly, Gremlins.
You know who's probably drinking some water right now?
Who?
Topher.
Probably. Where is he?
He was supposed to be here today. He was actually supposed to be here today. You know where he is?
At the Chautauqua Institute with Christopher
Haley.
Maybe.
Figuring out some audio and video, but he can't fix our screen!
Like, are we gonna, at least for the last episode, can we just fix it one time?
That's all we want. Like, we're not allowed to play Willoughby Wallaboo. We're not apparently allowed to play Gulp.
We're not allowed to, should I just go through this Woohoo Wiggly Gremlins album? We're not allowed to play Welcome to Network Wiggles, Lights, Camera, Action Wiggles, which is an absolute banger. Introduction to Gulp. So you don't get just Gulp, you get the intro. Anthony's Workshop, can't play that. Can't go to testing 1, 2, 3.
Wait, hold on, that's a doozy. How does Anthony have a workshop if an elephant sat on Anthony?
Dude, I thought Anthony was dead.
Me too.
I thought he was dead. I thought he just blew up like Hagen. I thought Hagen Tuck just blew up and Jacob. Well, can we just talk about Jacob Nottenor's performance for the San Diego Seals?
I mean,
like starting goal for the Seals was Jacob Nottenor. 44 shots on goal and he only lets in 7, but I mean, Jacob Nottenor and Tanner Skuxman successfully in the net.
But then this guy shows up.
And then this guy just says, you know, I gotta go score. And then Johnny T goes, yeah?
Yeah?
I? Like, don't be late to my class.
What did he sign on this ball?
No, what is it? Is it heavy Welsh? Is it from Wales or something? What does that say? I don't even know if that's an A. What's that? I have no idea what that says. Oh, and then they're gossiping. And now they're gossiping in the headsets. I hear them dropping my name. They're telling me to adjust my shirt. It was probably like that the whole show. And they're just telling me now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Oh yeah, but also, I mean, I guess Ryan Blotto, our former GM, loves the Wiggles, and I bet you he's probably watching Sports Hour right now, or he's probably not. I have no idea. But he probably wants us to play the Wiggles too. He's a big Wiggly Gremlin fanatic, so.
I think everyone in the control room would love us to play some Wiggles.
Yeah, but then Greg sent his bots to Sports Hour and was like, if you hear any Wiggle song, block it.
Yeah.
Take it down.
But you know what episode didn't get taken off YouTube for copyright?
Oh, the one from last week where we played the same song twice?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah?
But talking about getting back into some NLL, we got a big loss. A huge loss
that helps us in the standings. We're 2.5 games ahead of these guys now.
Rochester.
Imagine. Okay, this was the team that took Connor Fields in the expansion draft before they traded him to Rochester. The Las Vegas Desert Dogs beat these guys 12-7. The Rochester Fraud Hawks are in full effect.
The Rochester Fraud Hawks, baby. They go.
The Rochester Deadbirds.
I bet you Connor Fields wasn't having a field day on that game.
No, I don't think so. I bet you he was probably partying it up in Cherry Arrow's class the day after saying, I'll put your next win in a Google Drive. Actually, you guys can go home. Actually, it's really, really snowy outside, and I won't tell you that class is canceled until 2 hours after the class is over.
Yeah.
But Connor Fields, that team is actually low-key kind of stacked.
The Rochester? Oh, yeah.
But what's been going on?
Stacked.
What's been going on? Imagine scoring 7 goals and losing while we're scoring 7 goals and winning. It must suck to be a Rochester fan.
Buffalo's happening. Good things happen in Buffalo, but you know, Bandits going into the offs. And then
already clinched their spot.
Already clinched the spot.
We need first. We want the first seed.
We need the first seed.
And if you're looking at the standings, we have to keep Colorado out. If they're in the playoff hunt, they have a legitimate shot at winning it all.
Again.
And the Bandits, for the love of God, figure out the Colorado Mammoth. My God, JT, I'm looking at you, buddy. Johnny who?
Tavares.
If this guy was our coach, Mark whose house?
State House.
We would not be losing to Colorado. We'd be beating them 19-9 every game. Maybe 19-0.
Maybe 19-0.
Maybe 19 to -7.
In the finals, we lose to them. And we play them in our Green Patty's Day jersey.
And Danny doesn't even score. He's like, I'm wearing this jersey. I got to score.
Maybe he was drunk.
Maybe he was. Maybe he was
our
drinking
team went to the parade. Maybe they were having a little too much fun. Some of the guys hit Chippewa.
Maybe Chris Swenson was the only guy in that game. Should give him a stick. While he's playing, he goes, "Let's go Bandits."
Next week. Chris Swenson's getting.
Oh, he's going up here. I have a great picture of Chris Swenson that I want to show everybody on the screen right now. Now I don't even know if we're actually still on right now because the screen doesn't freaking work.
And, they tell us to start wrapping up like 10 minutes. Oh, yeah, it's another fun fact, Trevor, you probably didn't notice. They tell us to wrap up like 5 minutes before we're actually supposed to wrap up.
Well, I didn't notice because we go over every time.
But we still go over.
But look at that. That is zoomed in Chris Swenson. That's going on the board next week. So
that's our guy.
If you didn't see it, well, you
if
can
you
always
guys
go
don't
back.
know who that is,
Get
Buffalo
a life.
what?
Bandit. How about defense?
But who's our next game here? Toronto.
Our next
Toronto
game is
Rock.
against the Toronto Rock, and then I think the game after that we face against the. Oh wait, we have a week off, and then we have our next home game is April 15th. What the f?
April 15th.
April 15th. That's like
so far.
3 weeks away, and then
That's
we have.
crazy.
What do we have after that? Oh, and then we're finishing off in Albany. Maybe we can actually freaking win this one.
Maybe we can actually beat the friggin'
Firebirds or Firewolves.
I want to.
Wait, I think we're playing the Coachella Valley Firebirds.
I think we're playing the Albany Dumpster Fires.
I think we're playing the Tophers next week. Oh wait, we're off. Wait, okay. We'll wrap up. We'll wrap up right now. We'll wrap up. Put us back on the screen. Put us back on.
Come
we'll
on.
Wrap up.
We'll wrap up.
Seriously,
right now.
you can't just finish off the show with my hair looking like this.
And no proper outro.
And no proper outro. And like I wouldn't know because the screen doesn't work.
All right.
Oh,
so
okay. Now we can wrap. We'll wrap up right now. We'll wrap up. We'll wrap up.
Quick predictions for the next game against Toronto.
Ooh, against Toronto, I say that the Bandits win this game 16-13.
I say the Bandits win this game. The goal scorers figure it out, and we win 18-12.
And I think that Dane Smith scores 20. Oh wait, well, how's that possible? No, I think we win. I think we win 30-0. Dane Smith scores 20.
60-0.
Oh, 60-0. Make it 600.